What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy JFK. We're back on JFK Live. How you doing? Listen, good to see you guys. Yes, so my people, this is July 7th, 2020. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been keeping up with your boy. I appreciate it. As usual, we're back on, man. You know, it's another day in the land of the living. Thank God. For those of us who are here, we thank God. We give God glory. It's not easy, man. When you look around, a lot of people have passed away this time. So we're just grateful. We're just really grateful. So I don't take it for granted. Every minute, every hour we spend on this earth is a gift. So I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope you guys are managing. You know, it's not easy. COVID is changing the world. But hopefully we are finding some nuggets of, life and good things happening, even though COVID is changing the world. What can we do? We're going to live. We're going to do what we can do. So in the meantime, I just want to say, first of all, I'm thanking God for you. If you know what to do, once you come on the page, come on, let me see you, man. Give me a comment. Let me know you're here. Let me shout you out. Say what's up. Welcome. Today, just a few things to talk about. We all know what's going on with Corona, just spiking in America. And you have to ask yourself that question. Why is it that, of all the countries in the world, this country is now at a time when other countries are celebrating the decline in COVID? America is over here struggling just to get a handle on it. And you got to ask yourself why. And, the answer is not too far-fetched. It's ignorance. We have allowed ignorance. We have allowed ignorance to take hold of this country. Hey, BCOY in the building. Yes, so. Adeyemi Abimbola, good to see you. Good to see you. Chime in, guys. Chime in as I'm talking. Any of the topics you see on the flyer. Let's talk, man. It's about us today. It's about us talking together. I'm just saying, America is experiencing this spike in COVID, and it's for a reason. Because we're in a different place now. We're no longer in that place where you don't know, hey, is the whole world going through it? Why is the whole world doing all this? We're in a different place now. Now we're in a place where we can see some countries are doing well. You know what I'm saying? Bless you, Adeyemi. Thank you so much. Chime in. We're in a different place now. Some countries are actually coming out of COVID. So we're no longer in that place where we can just say, oh, the whole world is struggling. Nobody knows what to do. Everybody's dying everywhere. No. We're in a different stage now. We're in a stage where some nations are really coming out of it. Even when they're having small flare-ups and stuff like that, they're handling it. So that means that some nations have figured out how to deal with this thing. So now, for any nation like America, who is now struggling at this level, if you are struggling to deal with COVID, you have to ask yourself the question, what has America done wrong? America has done something wrong, because other nations that can be considered peers of America are coming out of COVID. They're coming out. And so question, why is America different? Why is America different? Why is our COVID response? Why is it worse? Why is it worse? Let me show you something right away. I wanted to just get this on here today. We are dealing with something different. Look at this. This is America's graph. So you have March. Coming into March, this is where the president was still telling us that we have it under control. It's only one person. It's only 10 people. It's going down to one case. This is what we're dealing with. This is what was coming up that whole time that the president was telling us we got it under control. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our numbers. All right. So COVID, the infection rates, the newly confirmed cases at that time, we're close to about, we're talking about less than 10,000 cases coming in New York, first couple of weeks in March, we're going up to, we're just filling it out. By the second week in March, we're up to 10,000 cases in America. All right. That was the point where other nations were also seeing a spike, and the other nations started panicking. America did not behave like other nations. This is the difference. This is why our graph looks like this, y'all. This is why our graph looks like this. Because when other nations, it's biblical. Oh, don't let me go to church. It's biblical. The Bible talks about the 10 virgins. Come on now, let me get the organist, please. Yes, thank you. When the Bible talks about the 10 virgins preparing for the return of the bridegroom, 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. Guess which category America would have fallen into? With its COVID response. 5 people prepared for the bridegroom. They went and got oil. You see, America is like the 5 foolish virgins. America is all 5 of them. America is like the 5 foolish virgins who were sleeping. And the thing that when America woke up and they saw that the other virgins had bought extra oil, America said to the other virgins, why are you buying oil? The other virgins told America, because the bridegroom is coming, we don't want our lamp to go out just as he arrives. America now said to the other virgins, you guys are stupid. Bridegroom is not coming today. He's not coming tomorrow. Just sleep. No need for oil. That's what America has been busy doing. America has been busy denying the coming of the bridegroom. America has been busy denying the existence of COVID. We have been, me on this show, some other people online, we have been having conversations about, is it real? This is what America is busy. This is what we're doing in America right now. And in Nigeria and some places, we're having conversations about whether COVID is real. That's where we still are. Is it real? I see people online talking about inflated numbers. That's their obsession now. Hey, they're just making up numbers, all these big numbers. That's what people are concentrating on. The nations that are wise are not wasting their time asking if the numbers are inflated. The wise nations of the world are going in there with their scientists, with their health experts, not excluding the people in church also praying. You can do both. Amen, somebody. So they are going in. Nations are working to bring down their curve. Nations are testing their population. Nations are making sure that the hospitals have PPEs. Nations are making sure that their people are social distancing. Nations are locking down. Nations are wearing masks. And they are doing it nationally. That's something I picked up in the last show where I was doing on Saturday. I was having a conversation with one of my brothers, Brother Labi, talking about it. Like, I was talking about Canada and how the premiers of the provinces were the ones primarily doing the work. And I said, the only way that works is there's a national agreement among governors and among local governments to do the same things. Because what happens is with New York, as we are seeing now, if New York does the job of bringing down its numbers, of getting control of the virus in New York City, but Alabama does not, Arizona does not. There's a spike in Florida, there's a spike in Texas. Because there are no borders separating New York from any of these places, you cannot control the spread nationally. So New York had its spread, New York is down, Arizona is up, Texas is up, these guys are up. Now you have to find a way to make sure that that spike in Florida doesn't flow back down to New York. That's why it has always been a question of a national response. I've been shouting this thing since March. It is dumb. It's stupid. It is stupid to have a state-by-state response. How can you have a state-by-state response on an epidemic? This is madness. This is ignorance run amok. If there's ignorance, then there's ignorance run amok. This is ignorance times 4. It is not just that America has behaved ignorantly in COVID. That is not just it. America has behaved ignorantly in this COVID season, but America has also celebrated ignorance. That's the double-edged sword of this matter. Not only have Americans said, no, they're making it up. It's a hoax. They're still calling it hoaxes, except COVID doesn't care. COVID is happy when you call it a hoax because it can operate inside that darkness. The darkness that is created by your ignorance fuels COVID. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to start getting wise. We need to start getting wise. And that's the only way we can start to calm down. Let's stop the conspiracy theories. Let's stop the fake news. Let's stop the distortion. Let's stop the straw man arguments. People talking about, oh, the numbers are too high. Are you kidding me? Are any of these numbers a surprise to anybody? Anybody who was in America during the Memorial Day weekend, anybody who was in America when Texas was opening up very early, anybody who in this country when they were talking about liberate Michigan, liberate Wisconsin, if you were in this country, you are not surprised by these numbers. You expect these numbers. Some of us were waiting for these numbers because it's math, it's science. No masks. People were fighting against masks. People were protesting against lockdown, protesting against quarantine in these states. And now you have a spike and someone has the nerve to suggest that the numbers are they are inflated. Come on. At some point, your ignorance has to end. Hopefully it doesn't end in death. This is what we're praying for. So look at these numbers. Let's look at these numbers again, y'all. Let's look at these numbers. We're talking about, as of the middle of April 15th, this was going towards Easter when the president said, oh, it's going to be gone. Remember, President Lysol said that by April, it's going to go by itself. Remember that? That's when we had our spike. This is why you don't listen to dumb people. Don't listen to dumb people. Anyone that is not smarter than you, if you cannot gauge that they are smarter than you, be careful how you let them be the ones to influence your actions. If someone is clearly as illiterate and as incompetent and as ignorant as the current president of the United States, you have to get to a point when it comes to your life and your health, you need to separate that and not listen to him on that matter. You can listen to him on any other nonsense. He's a reality TV star. He's very entertaining. Donald Trump is very entertaining. But when it comes to your health and your life, I beg you, Separate that. Don't listen to him, because you can clearly see he has no clue what he's talking about. He was talking about this thing going away. He wanted to reopen in Easter. Remember this? Maybe you have forgotten. I'll remind you, because I was there waiting for this moment. Donald Trump was trying to reopen the country on Easter. And then he moved it because the numbers did not allow him. It was during that period that he was hoping to reopen that the spike was the highest. That's why we had that deadliest couple of days in America when he wanted to reopen. This is the president of the United States telling you he was going to reopen. Thank God that people didn't listen to him, because at that point, it had become clear that this man is a moron. Stop listening to people that can't spell. Don't listen to people that can't read. When it comes to your health and your well-being, listen to people who have been doing this as a career. That's all I'm saying. Now, don't get me wrong. Our doctors, experts, they are not perfect in any way. As a matter of fact, many of them have come back to say some of the things they did at the beginning of the pandemic, they didn't do it with enough knowledge. And that's why when people say, oh, you said we should listen to doctors, but people died in hospitals. Yes, because it's a new virus. It came in as a new virus. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew what to do. That was the whole point. That was the reason why we all had to come together and begin to work it out. Instead of arguing with ourselves, is it real? Is it not real? Are they faking the numbers? That was so maddening. It was so maddening. All these states, liberate Mississippi, liberate Michigan. We don't want masks. Masks became the enemy. Are you kidding me? In America, masks became the enemy. If you wear a mask, you are a Trump hater. That's where we are now. That's where we are. If you wear a mask, you hate Trump. Are you dumb? Maybe you are dumb, because Corona don't care who you support. COVID doesn't care. This is what I've been trying to tell people. When New York was being attacked, when COVID was at the peak in New York, I know the southern states were like, yeah, yummy, them liberals, them left-wing liberals, serve them right. But we're going to open up, darn it. Bruh, I said it then, like, what are you talking about? The virus doesn't understand English. The virus does not know about the map of America. Welcome, everybody. I see my people falling in. Let me know who's there. Let me put some of your comments up here, man. Chime in on what we're talking about. And the pandemic doesn't know what your political affiliation. And so here's our number right now, ladies and gentlemen. Here's our number. Here we are right now. So when other nations are experiencing a downturn of the virus, when other nations, when New Zealand opened up for a rugby match with live audiences, the desire of many of us want to go watch basketball games live. We want to go to the theater live. We want to get back to Times Square. The nations that really, really thought about what they needed to do so that this summer, some nations are having a good summer in spite of COVID. Believe that. After their losses, some nations are having a better summer. Why? Because they didn't waste time. They didn't waste time finding out if 5G towers were causing corona. That's the difference. How is New Zealand better than America? Oh, let me tell you how. The president and the locals and everybody, and most of the people, don't get me wrong, every country has their own nut jobs over there. But for the most part, most of the people were like, yeah, we need to get rid of this. We don't want this corona thing to stay here longer than it has to. All these nations, they came together. They did their search for vaccinations, search for treatment. They equipped their hospitals. They wore masks. They stayed indoors. Practiced social distancing. The nations that didn't, some nations experimented with a little bit of social distancing and not closing down all the restaurants, social distancing, masks, but not shutting down school. So, like Sweden was an experiment. So they tried that middle ground. Their results now are tepid compared to those who did a full shutdown and did the whole social distancing and just waited for corona to just find no more hosts. That's math. This thing is science. I'm not even a scientist, but the little science I was taught is enough to help me understand that this is you have to learn that when a new virus comes, let the experts work with the experts to figure out how does this virus behave? What is different about it? Y'all were out there calling it the flu. I can't believe this, man. You were literally calling this thing. Is this the flu? Does it still feel like the flu, bro? Because the flu has a season. Apparently, corona is stronger in summer. Who knew? I thought President Lysol said during summertime the heat will kill corona. Corona kept laughing when Trump was saying that nonsense. Corona was laughing at Trump. In the summertime, some believe it will go away. Idiot. They call it the novel coronavirus. That word novel coronavirus was to describe the fact that it's new, it's different, it's unusual. It may have some similarities with things you're familiar with. Some symptoms of coronavirus and its effects might mimic that of a flu, might mimic that of malaria, but it is not those things. And so here we are. Here we are with our numbers. Here we are with our numbers. Now we are spiking, and now America is in the middle of a serious spike. And the question is, how do we change the narrative? How do we turn the corner? One thing is for sure, we can't continue in ignorance. What's going on? Yeah, shout out to Tommy Lola Wilson is here. My brother, what's going on? Thank you for your service, bro. Always appreciate you. BCOY in the building. My people, if you don't mind, share the video. Let's get some people more on this conversation, because we need to change the narrative. We need to defeat Corona. We need to come out of ignorance. That's what this is about. We need to stop being ignorant. Ignorance is what's killing us. The difference between America and some other nations who are doing well is that they're treating Corona as something that is scientific. And I always tell my prayer warriors, you can pray and let your scientists work. You can do that. But don't be out here just pretending like there's nothing scientific about this. This is science. And so Americans are not like, with that child that, their own parents don't let you come out of the house, but you see your neighbor's house and the kids are running around playing, but your dad and mom don't let you come out of the house because it's dangerous for you, because they didn't take care of the neighborhood that you are living in. But you can see way over there, some other kids are having fun. They come out because maybe their father fumigated the compound and the bugs that are going around, they fenced in, and you can just see through the window. They're having fun. That's what America is like right now. Other nations are going out. As a matter of fact, those nations have told America not to come in. America is being told not to come in. Can you believe this? Americans are being told not to come to countries. Can you believe this? America is getting an immigration ban. Trump came into this presidency banning everybody, ban Muslims, ban Africans, ban every bannable. Now America is the one that can't travel. Oh, sweet irony. Because when you have an incompetent leader, it will affect you. I'm sorry. There are no two ways. Look at Florida right now. Ron DeSantis. He's still refusing to do a complete shutdown. And his emergency rooms are filling up. His doctors are complaining. The spike is all over the state of Florida. I mean, Miami is one of the few places where it's not as bad, because the mayor of Miami apparently did not listen to the governor. Apparently, he's been shutting down his city because, he has a lot of people in there. So he's doing better than some of the other counties, some of the MAGA counties. All the MAGA counties are now getting flooded. They're even thinking right now of what to do with the Republican convention. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah. Let me see what's going on. Yeah, your president does not know what novel is. Stop expecting to. You're right. We should stop expecting Donald Trump to understand English words. By now, we know he can't read and he can't spell. We just know that. This is the same man apparently who's asking John Bolton that, is Finland not part of Germany? This is who you made president. This is who you made president. You completely messed up. America, you messed up in the biggest. History will record this period as the dumbest time in America. America has had wicked times. America has had evil times. America has had a racist history. It's had even internationally. Let's talk about it. America has done things internationally that nations are now waking up and finding, America, you messed up. America has sponsored things abroad that we now look back and say, that was horrible. It's wrong. It's just wrong. But this period will be recorded as the dumbest time in America, the most ignorant period in America. This time, because this is the time when we had the most ignorant president, hiring the most ignorant people. Some of the people we hired that were not ignorant had to leave. Smart people need to always leave his administration, because at some point, your intelligence does not allow you to stand behind this moron. That's just the way it is. This is why you see pictures of people like Dr. Fauci covering his face behind Trump. This is why you see pictures of generals looking down when he speaks. This is why you saw that video of Dr. Birx looking into the ground as if she wanted the ground to swallow her when President Lysol suggested the injection of bleach and Clorox. She could not believe she was sitting here working for this man. The level of ignorance oozing from Donald Trump is intoxicating. You are not listening to me. It's a quagmire and a conundrum. Oh, you are not listening to me. I'm talking about the intricacy of Trump's ignorance is such that you wonder whether or not he's able to get up in the morning without falling and tripping on what I call the tail of his own ignorance. I wonder how he does it every day. The ignorance of this man is epic. The problem I have is we know that. Why is anybody listening to him? Why is anybody following him? This is the issue. Because America should not be where America is right now. Look at these numbers. We're spiking when all other nations are going down in their numbers. America is going up. America, the world leader in science, the world leader in medicine, the world leader in strategy, all the great minds in America. And it turns out America is the one that's doing the worst of all the superpowers. America is doing the worst when it comes to recovering from COVID. We can't solve COVID because our leadership right now is the dumbest leadership we've ever had. On the list of nations that are doing better than America, you have third world countries doing better than America right now. America is just a laughing stock. You have an idiot boy in president. Did you realize when he said 99% of COVID cases are harmless? Did you guys hear that? He said 99% of COVID cases are harmless. Think about that for a minute. I mean, from the moment he said that we should drink Lysol or bleach and inject the sun rays into our skin, we knew that his ignorance had taken wings. You know, the force is strong with him. The force of ignorance is strong with that one. Strong with him, the force is that one of ignorance. The day he said we should inject Lysol and Clorox and inject the sun rays into our skin, that's the day he stopped doing the Corona Task Force briefings. The ignorance of that day was so heavy, it crushed his briefings. He couldn't do briefings again because he was so much of an idiot that his entire team agreed, Oga, no more briefings for you on Corona. He said the dumbest thing anyone has ever heard. He did. He did it. He did it. He did it. You go, Donald. You did it. You said the dumbest thing any president has ever said in the history of America, maybe in the world. I've never heard any other president say that. I have not. And no president have I heard say we should drink bleach to kill the virus. You're the only one. You are unique, sir. You are exceptional. Clap for yourself, Donny boy. President Lysol, you exceed them all. But then, as if that was not enough, he comes out and he tells us 99% of COVID cases are harmless. Does he know how to spell harm? Do we all understand that getting sick is not a good thing? I think the problem we're now having is that if people don't die from COVID, we think it's okay. No. Let's rewind. COVID makes you sick. That's the first part of this problem. The symptoms, anybody remember them? The headaches, the fever, the chills. We're talking about the sneezing and the coughing. And in Africa, we're hearing like some people have no taste and no smell. We're finding that out. And there are offshoots of COVID. There are strains of COVID that are manifesting in something else. Children are getting a different strain. So people are getting sick. So even those that didn't die are not having a good time with COVID. It's not harmless. It's not harmless. The fact that it is not killing as many people as it did at the beginning, that's a reason to refer to it as harmless. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to stay vigilant. There is no reason why this level of ignorance should be running this country. That's all I'm saying. Forget about don't forget about it, but leave aside how evil everything else is about this man and his administration. Leave that aside. The fact that his boys are getting a lot more of the money, the PPP money that was supposed to go for small businesses, we're finding out. I don't know. There's no surprise here. The people getting the money that Congress voted for are Trump's boys. His pastor is getting the money. All the evangelical churches that support him, Pastor Jeffers, apparently they're on the list getting mad bill. They're getting paid. They're getting more money than Hush Puppy. All his friends are getting paid. America, when you become so low that the Treasury Secretary has the nerve to go before Congress and tell Congress that he would not reveal the names of the companies that got $500,000 or more from the PPP, that's okay with you? That they decided they're not going to reveal the names of who they gave your money to? All of a sudden, that's cool. I hope not. I hope this November you answer that question with a big no. It's not okay. Because now we're finding out the big money went to his boys. The money went to Trump's boys. The corruption level is beyond what we can imagine. I told a friend who told me, oh, you should be proud of Trump. He's not taking a salary. You don't need a salary when you're ready to embezzle the entire treasury. What's a salary? That's a joke. Now we're seeing it. Trump Properties got money from the PPP. The tax cut he did the other day was for people like him. He bragged at Mar-a-Lago to his friends like, I made you guys richer today. You guys are sitting down watching this man. He's looting the country. He's looting the nation. And it's coming out. That's why Steve Mnuchin didn't want to give you the list of the people that got the money. Think about, I was born and raised in Nigeria. These are the stories we grew up hearing. Something million disappeared. So, but nobody knows which money. Who are they giving this money? Who are they giving contract? Those were the issues in Nigeria. Those are the issues of corruption that we talk about, that we are praying and hoping and fighting for, that they will end in Nigeria. Hey, look at them here in the US. Again, I say this, corruption has always existed in America. People go to jail, some people get away with it. But this is, I think, the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, chime in, people. Correct me if I'm wrong. This might be the first time that America will be staring at corruption at the White House level. And it's almost like we don't know what to do. We're so shocked. We don't know what to do. News came out that they took the PPP money and gave it to their friends, y'all. Small business owners could not access that money. Black-owned businesses could not get a dime in the loans or the grants from the PPP that was supposed to help the economy. People we know that applied for the money. By the time the money came out, by the time they showed up to apply, the money was gone. The bank said, oh, we've given it out. And then we asked, to whom? Who did you give all this money to? Oh, and now I think it was the Wall Street Journal came out. Now we find out who the money went to. Trump's people, his pastors, his evangelical friends. Their churches got money. Their churches got money. His friends, his big business friends, got his own properties, got money. He's been looting this country blind from the day he came in. That's the only thing he's good at. He's a moron when it comes to Corona. He's an idiot when it comes to the economy. His trade war killed the agricultural sector before COVID came and finished them off. That's the reality. And we're going to be dealing with that later in this country if we get rid of this nonsense that we're doing now by removing him from office. We're going to find out really how bad it was. He put his friends in the best position possible. That's why the wealth gap is increasing. The trillionaires are getting more trillions. Millionaires are getting more millions. The rest of us are begging them. We are celebrating the $1,200 they gave us for COVID relief. We are grateful because we are suffering. In the meantime, his boys are getting the big chunk of the money. Ladies and gentlemen, talk to me. Let me see some of these. Like, yeah, Opelua is here, Judy Fashakin is here. My people, talk to me. That's what I'm saying. He's been looting this country blind. The news came out. His boys are getting the money. His boys are getting the money. The PPP they talked about, all his people got it. That's why all the small businesses don't have it. They don't have the money. Trump's boys have the money. They have been doing well. Trump has been doing well for his people. By his people, I mean the rich people. Talk to me, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to turn the ship of ignorance around. America is no longer suffering from COVID. Let me say that again. America is no longer suffering from COVID in its purest form. America is now experiencing ignorance and the consequences thereof. Everybody suffered from COVID at the beginning. Every nation that has been dealing with this thing was dealing with the virus, with the disease, and all the destruction it brought, and all the economic destruction it brought, and all the lives we've lost. But right now, America is one of the few countries who is dealing with something different. Ignorance. Ignorance, stupidity. We have exacerbated this disease with stupidity. America is not alone. By the way, I'm talking to, let me talk to Africa right now. Africa, I bless God for you. Oh, my people, I bless God for Nigeria. Let me tell you something. When you talk about people shouting, is God that selected Trump? My question is always this. Femi, thank you, Jai, for bringing it up. Money in politics is evil. We're going to get to that again today. My thing is this. When Obama was there for 8 years, your theory seems to be that God brought Trump in. So my question is, Obama's 8 years was who's doing? Trump supporters in Nigeria and Africa, please answer that question. I'm waiting. Hopefully some of you are watching. Who allowed Obama to be president for 8 years? You guys are sure that God brought Trump now? I'm not arguing. Obama was president for 8. What was God's position on Obama? Because your measurement of God's work is if somebody becomes president, right? That's how you measure it. He became president, it must be God's will. Then how did you guys talk about Obama as if it's the devil's will? He also became president, and he actually won the popular vote and the electoral college. So his own victory was a little stronger. But I digress. He was there for 8 years. Who put Obama in office? Because be careful how you answer that question if you're a Trump supporter who believes God put Trump in office. If you tell me that it was not God, you are suggesting that God was quiet for 8 years when Obama became president. And I know you won't do that, because I know you believe that God is bigger than that. So temper your answer, because you guys are not focused. Their God was on strike during, but that's the only logical conclusion. Because those of us who are experiencing Trump's presidency, which, by the way, I'm a little encouraged, but you guys know me. I'm not going to get happy about the polls. That's doing nothing for me. Even though the polls in the swing states, which I'll show you before I go today, are showing what I've been looking for. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Florida, Wisconsin. I've been singing this song forever. Those are the states I'm interested in. Those are electoral college kind of situations. We know who's going to take New York. We know who's likely to take Maryland. You see how the math works in American politics. We know who's likely to take Texas, although Texas is in jeopardy for the Republicans right now because Trump is awful. In generations, the Republicans have never panicked on Texas, Georgia, Arizona, Alabama. They've never had to panic. The GOP has never really had to panic in these states. For the first time, they don't know what's going on. Because President Lysol has revealed a level of madness that died in the woke conservatives are now shivering. They don't understand because their friends are dying, bro. Death is not political. People make it political. People want to talk about it as political. But for the person experiencing the loss, it's a clarifying event. There are Republicans right now doing ads on YouTube. There are Republicans doing just ads on YouTube. Republicans, conservatives, Trump supporters, Trump voters. They are on YouTube everywhere now saying they are done with him. Because, let me tell you why. Because COVID don't care. COVID is not a MAGA issue. You keep treating it like a MAGA issue. Now it is ravaging the MAGA areas. But you know what? Empathy does not allow someone like me to look at Florida, Texas, and say, oh, serves you right, because I don't want nobody to die. That's the whole point of this conversation from day one. Let's be smart. Let's work together so people don't die. But y'all were busy talking about stupid 5G. Y'all were telling me about the numbers being inflated. Yeah, sit on that. Yes, the numbers are inflated. No, nobody's dying. No, let's go with you. Nobody's dying. It's all fake. Idiots. I don't even talk like this, y'all, but I'm just upset. There's no reason why this country should be losing 130,000 people. America? Really? So other countries have figured out how to bring their numbers down. America is just now getting a spike? Come on, y'all. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. America can't figure it out. New Zealand is holding rugby matches with full stadiums. Which, by the way, I'm still watching them. I'm hoping they're safe all the way through. But they did that after like a week of no cases at all. Their testing was crazy. They tested like crazy. This President Bunker Boy is bragging about his testing. Explain to me how your testing now helps us to prevent the COVID that started in March. Are we this dumb? I know we're not, because some of us have been shouting. Some of us have been shouting about this. My people, thank you for following. Talk to me. I'm seeing your comments, man. Yeah, Okwelua, you're right. I don't believe the polls until the election day. That is true. But there's something about the polls I want to interject. I say that all the time. The polls are nothing. The only poll that matters is the election day poll. That number, the election day number, is what I want to talk. Is going to be the real deal. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about that. The polls sometimes give you a sense of momentum. I said this during the Hillary Clinton election 2016. And that's why I said a lot of people picked the wrong lesson from Hillary's loss. Hillary lost the election, quite all right. Partly due to a lot of converging factors. That's the first thing. There were converging factors. Don't let anybody come and say, "Yo, he beat you." No, no, no. There were converging factors. Now, each of those factors may not have been the individual thing that did it, but it's a death by 1,000 cuts. There was incompetence on the part of Hillary's campaign also. Some of us were watching the fact that her online presence was weak. The online space was being dominated by the Russian bots. Putin's babies were all over the web, and just regular people who were able to speak about Trump and this and Trump. The conversation on Trump was the biggest conversation. Hillary's online system was not good. That was clear. You were, even her website. So that was horrible. It was a bad move on her part. Part of it was overconfidence. Overconfidence that Trump is. I mean, Trump was so horrible as a person that Hillary and many of us thought America's got to be better than choosing this guy, right? Especially when he said, let's ban everybody, let's ban Muslims, let's ban immigrants. Everyone said, America's not going to vote for this guy, right? But that was a miscalculation. That was part of it. Her incompetence. There was something about her campaign that was not fully crystallized. Her messaging. Don't get me wrong. All of this was also impacted by bad press, bad media, all this interference. Those things were a major part, because don't forget, these elections, especially electoral college elections, you win by bits and pieces. 70,000 votes were the total number of votes that made the difference between Trump and Hillary, spread across the swing states I talked about. That's what made the difference in the election. And that's why I hear people get the wrong lesson from that election. That election was not an endorsement of Donald Trump. That's why he didn't win the popular vote. He didn't have a mandate. Don't forget that. He was less than Hillary by 3 million votes at least. He didn't have the mandate. But what he had was the Electoral College. The Electoral College, what he needed and what he got was about 70,000 votes spread across the swing states that tipped Florida, tipped Michigan, tipped Wisconsin. That's what gave him the election. So don't get it twisted. People talk about Trump's election victory as some kind of a genius work. I give it to his team. They did a good job, and he's a great showman. I give him that. But he's not smart enough without the help of these Russian bots, Hillary's own overconfidence. And not just her. I take that back. Hillary being overconfident is not something that I can pretend as if I wasn't part of that too. I towards the end started changing because I started noticing that instead of Trump to like lose momentum, he was gaining it. And then when Comey came out with the letter in October, that's when I knew there was a problem, because that changed momentum. This is math. The momentum, you see, when you're going up towards election, from what I've studied in American politics, and politics generally, when you're practicing real democracy or real politics, the momentum to the day of election is very, very important. If you're the one rising, in momentum, which sometimes is measured through the polls, if you're rising in momentum, if your positive numbers are going up and it's getting closer, that's the last mile that matters in many ways. In those last days, it was all about Hillary's emails. And when Comey came up with the last portion saying he had found some more computers and that he's going to reopen Hillary's case, that was in October. That was a few weeks before early voting was already happening. People were already mailing in their ballots. So based on that news cycle, Hillary was tanking. Don't forget, a lot of people were not really happy with Hillary to start with. That's the truth. She's a politician. She's been doing politics for years. So if you're a politician for a long time, you have baggage. Even my man Biden is feeling that right now. You have baggage, and when you have baggage, you have something big. You're carrying a heavy weight already. So Hillary had that as a politician, as a Clinton, as the wife of Bill Clinton, with all the Monica Lewinsky situation. Hillary had baggage. So there were a lot of people that were not sold on her, but they were willing to go with her. Those people were on the fence a little bit, but tilting towards Hillary. When Comey released the last batch of information saying they found more laptops with more information on the email scandal, it just made it depressed a lot of people. And people came out later to say it in exit polls, like they just don't trust her. That was the phrase they kept saying. I just don't trust Hillary. I think Trump is a horrible person, but I don't know what he'll do as president. But I know Hillary, I don't trust her. And, because don't forget, in many ways, Trump, having not been in politics before, could claim to be an outsider, which is what he did. Don't forget this. I mean, I remember all this because I kept watching this tragedy unfold. Trump played like the outsider. He played like an outsider who knew the insiders. He said that. He said, I pay these people every year. I contribute to everybody's campaign. These were things he was saying. and he was right about that. He contributed to people that he was the one. So the problem you had was a math problem. The 35% that are still with Trump today, that will be with him forever. Those guys were already waiting for a savior that would come on the scene and would say things like Mexicans are rapists, they're criminals, they're bringing drugs. They've been praying for a candidate to say that in America. They've been praying for a candidate to say, I'm going to ban all Muslims. Yes, they were waiting for this. So you got like a 30% group they were going to go for Trump no matter what. Now you have the middle. So let's give the Democrats at that point like 35%. But you have this middle. You have this middle made up of some conservative leaning people who were worried about Trump. They knew that he was going to be bad for America, but they couldn't bring themselves to vote for Hillary because I'm a Republican. Why would I vote for a Democrat? And of all Democrats, Hillary Clinton? I'd be betraying all my years of conservative politics. So you had these little groups. All they needed was a tip one way or the other. The tip came towards Trump. Not even towards Trump, just away from Hillary. That's why Trump did not win the popular vote. He didn't get enough majority of the country to say, we like you. What Trump benefited from was enough of the country saying, we don't know about Hillary and we don't really know what you're going to do. So whatever. Some didn't bother to vote. Some voted for Trump just, because they know Hillary, they don't like her. Him, he's crazy, but he might do well. Boom. So you have those categories. So now when people talk about this 2016 election, I urge you, don't overthink Trump's victories. And the biggest example of that is 2018. People overlook the 2018 election. 2018 was the most recent national election in this country. If you're talking about polls, fine. Polls are a dime a dozen. Elections are not. 2018 was the biggest poll taken since Donald Trump's election. If you want to look at it that way, 2018 congressional elections was the biggest opinion poll, political poll taken, because it was an actual election. People showed up, people voted. They changed Congress. They turned Congress completely blue. Virginia turned blue in 2018. That's your latest poll that you can hold on to. Question is, between 2018 and 2020, what has changed? Did Trump gain more people? Did he win back anybody from those who left him in 2018? Or did he lose more people? Or did he just maintain the same support? That's why the polls that we're seeing right now, to the extent that they mimic 2018 elections, that's why I attach some validity to it. That's my analysis on that. It's valid because it's connected to what I saw in 2018, which is an actual election, not a fake one, not a poll. 2018 was not a poll, it was an election. And the people that spoke in 2018 elections, they gave the country to Democrats because they swept the House. Senate was complicated because the number of people that were up for elections in the Senate, the divide of those who were up for elections in the Senate favored the Republicans. It was a Republican favoring election cycle. So people like Mitch McConnell, all the guys, they were not up for re-election in 2018. So the only thing the Democrats could hope for in 2018 is not to lose Senate seats and maybe gain one or two. There was a mix that happened. The Senate was retained by the Republicans. The Democrats inched up a little bit, but the real victory was in the House, where obviously, as you know, Nancy Pelosi became the Speaker of the House. That's the latest poll that you can count on in America, the 2018 electoral congressional elections. So for those who want to rely on the one hand, I tell the people who want to vote against Trump, who want to vote for Biden or vote him out, I tell them, don't get happy. Don't get happy because we all know anything can happen. Like I said, 2016 turned very powerfully in October because of one news headline. Comey says, we're reopening the case on Hillary. We found some more material. Boom. That headline changed the trajectory of support that was going for Hillary. And it stopped her trajectory. And by default, Trump was able to gain ground. So it turns on a dime. That's why I can't pop any champagne right now. Not to mention, even if Biden wins, there's no popping champagne. Because I don't know, good luck to Joe Biden. Good luck to his administration. Good luck to his vice presidential candidate. How are you going to turn this around? This Trump guy has undermined all that is good. All that is good in this country. All the goodwill. America interferes in countries' affairs a lot, and they have a bad name for it. But on the flip side, America also has some things that he has been doing that has made countries forgive her for some of the things she does. You know, there's some countries that have a love-hate relationship with America. There's some countries, I would say, like, you know, as a Nigerian growing up, you heard about some things that America did that was horrible, but you also wanted to be in America. That's the relationship a lot of people have with America, or they had. Right now, it's all bad. There's almost nothing good. I'm going to take you one on this. History has shown that Democrats never empower minorities. Instead, they destroy black community, similar to Labour here. Trump will win again, and this will surprise everyone. That is a false premise. Destroying black communities is not the function of one party. This country is based on this destruction of black communities. You can't assign that to one party. And the idea that because, you see, and let me do this for you. This is the misnomer. Black minority communities end up existing in geographical locations, in inner cities and urban areas. And the history of that, to the ghettoization of the black community in America, goes back way before the current Democrats and Republicans. Because people always try to forget. And I know when I say the parties flipped, people say, nah, it's a lie. The truth is, historically, the individuals that ended up in the current Democratic Party, which is, and you don't need to like do too much mental gymnastics. All you need to do is look at the makeup of the parties. Explain that to me. Because if you are going to make this discussion, explain to me, why is it that we have more minorities, much more diversity in every democratic group, in every community? Now, if that Democratic Party, Democratic mayor, a black mayor who's a Democrat, a black governor who's a Democrat, if they can't solve their city's problems, that's a different conversation. But you don't bring that into the conversation of Democrats are destroying the black communities. Democrats are the black community. That is why Joe Biden is the current nominee. Black people. I want you to be careful when we have this conversation about black people just voting for Democrats, not minding what Democrats have done to them. What you're insinuating, this is it. Listen to me. Don't talk to me. What you're suggesting is that as a black man, me voting for the Democrats is because of ignorance. And I challenge you on that. I challenge you on that because as an African American, as a black man living in Nigeria, in America, I know where my bread is being buttered. We don't need to go far. Just this week, just I think 2 days ago. Now talk to me. No, let's get in. Immigrants are part of the larger portion of minorities in this country. A lot of the black people in this country have their roots in immigration. Obviously from Africa, from nations where there are African Americans who are not African Americans, black people emigrating here. A lot of us are in that immigration system who have we've gotten green cards, we've gotten citizenships. Now, guess what? They made a rule telling students, foreign students, F1 visa students, that if their school, because of COVID, is going fully online and is no longer resuming in the fall in physical resumptions, those people will not get an extension on their student visas, and they need to leave before the visa expires because they will no longer be permitted to use the F1 visas. If it expires, they will no longer be renewed. That's a Republican administration policy. The halting of immigration is a Republican administration policy. Take it from immigrants. For the African American community itself, this is the irony. This is the trick. IBK, this is the trick. Black people over the years, that's why we're talking about Tulsa. That's why we're talking about Jim Crow. Black people over the years have been forced economically into certain geographical patterns. When black people came together in Tulsa to organize, their own business community to grow, they were bombed, they were assassinated, they were dispersed. That happened. That was just a big one. That happened all over this country, especially in the South. Black people for generations have been discouraged from even trying to organize their own communities. So what ends up happening? They're forced to live in situations where they're in urban areas where there's congestion, there's overcrowding. You can't police it properly. You can't properly organize it because, as we know from being in Nigeria, somewhere like Lagos, where do you start? Where do you start to clean up? You force people into communities where they can't get help. Then you blame them for having communities that are bad. Then you blame the guy, the governor, the mayor, who are trying to organize that. The reason why you can blame Democrats for black communities is because you notice that a lot of black communities have democratic leadership. But the reason that's possible is because non-democratic or Republican officials don't bother. Come on, y'all don't hear me. Republicans don't bother to try to govern, black communities. They move out. What are you talking about? They move out. They like to form their own. They don't like to be among black people. So yeah, you're gonna elect some African Americans, Latinos, Latinas. You're gonna elect those guys. There's guys that are with you, Democrats. That's what's happening. That's the math you're looking at. And then when you now come to why they're not solving the problems, what you call making the black community worse, is you're asking them to solve systemic problems that are so deeply rooted. And when they are not unable to solve them to your satisfaction, to our satisfaction, we all suffer, you blame them for failing. It's a setup. So let's get away from that. Let's get away from that. Democrats are not the problem of the African American. They're not perfect. Democratic politicians are politicians. There's corruption in their ranks. Many of them, they run for office. I mean, self-preservation is a universal feeling. But let's get off this. Democrats are the problem of the African American community. The reason why you're able to blame Democrats is because Democrats are the only ones who end up in those communities. The Republican GOP they go to the area, the rural areas where there are cows. Have you taken a look at the map of Red America, where you have the Republican leadership? They don't want to be in the city. That's the whole point. But the ones that are in the city, the politicians in the city who are like Democrats, of course I'm generalizing, but that is, I will put it to you that maybe on the next show I'll try to make it statistically relevant. I am convinced based on my study that that's what we're looking at. So when you see Democrats, you're talking about Labour Party in the UK, it's the same principle. Who ends up living among minority communities in the UK? Who? Members of the Labour Party. They're more likely to be more diverse. They're more likely to fight for social programs. You can see them, fighting for food stamps for their people because they're living in communities that are dependent on these programs. It's math. It's math. If you're not affluent, if your constituency is affluent, you don't like food stamps. It's math. IBK, that's my problem. Even more blacks were killed during the first 4 years of Barack Obama when compared to Donald Trump. Why? You give me stats, you don't give me why. Why? Why? Because Obama hates black people? No, explain that to me. IBK, explain it to me. And I'll come back to what I just told you. There was a backlash. Trump's election is a backlash. Obama's election created an atmosphere where, as we are seeing in Trump is a manifestation of that. And the statistics you're quoting about Barack Obama and Donald Trump, they are not comparable. Because when you say more blacks were killed during the first 4 years of Barack Obama, you're talking about crime rates in cities and states. And we all know that the crime rates in the first 4 years of Obama, let me tell you, what happened in the first 4 years? Let me remember. Oh yeah, a depression. Yeah, Obama took over in 2008. You remember what happened then? Everything was going to crap. Remember that now? Okay, so yeah, crime was up. Yeah, because unemployment was like 9%. Bro, it's math. All this stuff is math. And that's like Donald Trump telling me that, Donald Trump telling me we're testing more people than any other country. Boom. You have more people than any other country. Tell me what the percentage of your test is. Then we can talk. Come on, man. We know better than this. 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 Trump is not a better option. Trump is not a better option. And in case you think it's just me talking, what we're witnessing right now is the effect. You cannot explain to me how Trump would have been, how Barack Obama would have been worse on coronavirus. Try to, show me that. No, I'm waiting. Show me that. Show me that. Come on, man. This is math. I'm living in America, and I'm telling you that the reality is, when I'm in this New York City, in my neighborhood, when we're going for elections, guess who I'm seeing on the ballot? Democrats, guess where they're from? My city. In most cases, they live here, bro. They're the ones who are willing to live here. So they're the ones we elect. I don't blame them for all the crime in the inner city. I understand how cities work. Any major city in the world, you know, London in the UK, stabbings. I don't need to talk about Lagos. I'm talking about places I know a little bit about. We know what happens. Congestion is a major issue. Why we're not going to pretend like we don't know what's going on. It's math. And so when we're doing these comparisons, we need to break it down to real numbers. You know, IBK, you're talking about no wars for the last 4 years. That's based on Trump, bro. I'm gonna cut you off right there. I'm gonna cut you off right there. No wars for the last 4 years. You know what it is? When the last war we had was started before Obama became president. I don't know if you let's do this math, bro. Let's do this math. Oh, who was president when we started Afghanistan and Iraq? Oh yeah, a Republican. So we're back to your point. The things that Republicans handle, they mess it up. And they run away from the hard things, which is running an inner city. It's math. It's math. You're my boy. That's why I want to engage you on this. I want it. There you go. You say IBK said that this coronavirus is man-made and it went wrong. Now I'm going to force you to tell me which man made it, where did he make it, when did he make it, how did he make it, what was his plan to make it, what was his end game. You need to tell me that. If you don't tell me that, I'm canceling this particular idea. That's it. Nah, IBK. Let's get into it, bro. You're my bro. We're going to do this. Tell me who made it, when they made it, how they made it, what they made it for, what was their plan, what was the end game for their making it. You're not going to throw a theory like that into the pool and just step back. Tell me. IBK, you got to tell me. That's it. Don't leave it hanging, IBK. Do not leave it hanging. Okay, here we go. Libya, Syria, etc. in 8 years. Libya and Syria, they're not wars, bro. They're not American wars. We didn't shoot Syria and then Syria shot back. Those are not wars. Those are engagements and skirmishes that we have all the time. And trust me, under Donald Trump, remember there was a sergeant who died under Donald Trump because he sent some people in to do a covert mission and went awry? Sergeant LeDavid? You think that was the only one because that's the one we heard about? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. You know the difference. But I'm challenging you on coronavirus. Man-made. Who's the man who made it? Where did he make it? When did he make it? Why did he make it? What was his plan for making it? And what is his follow-up plan for it? You said it went wrong. How do you know? You must have been at the meeting where they were making it. That's it. This is why we're suffering. This is why we're suffering. This is why America is suffering right now. Because other countries that are doing well with coronavirus, they didn't spend time asking whether or not it was man-made. They solved it. They solved it, bro. You say coronavirus has existed a long time, but this very version is an aggressive one. That doesn't answer the question of how it came to be. That's my point. You can have legitimate questions. We can have suspicions about governments and their secrecy and how they behave. We can have queries. Some things may not sit right with you, but it does not allow us to make conclusions. I cannot conclude that this was man-made just because it feels different. That's not how science works. That's not how science works. You got to come with receipts. You got to come with receipts. Don't tell me it's man-made if you can't tell me which man made it, because you're just making it up. Boom. I'll tell you what I know about it that I didn't make up, that has been proven over time with science and experience, is that it attacks the lungs. It exacerbates pre-existing conditions. So if you have pneumonia, heart disease, you're likely to suffer more severely from it. Let me tell you some things that are factual that we can all agree on. The mode of transmission, as far as we know now, there's been an update, but the basic transmission has not changed. It's spread through droplets, and this hence the whole effort to keep us from connecting with each other with droplets. No coughing, no sneezing into each other's faces. Let's cover it. That's what we know. What we know is that certain drugs are now being used that are a little bit effective. I'm telling you what we know. I'm separating that from speculation. I also suspect that something happened in a lab somewhere in Wuhan. I suspect that, but I can't prove it. And so I'm not going to state it like a theory. My brother, that's what I'm saying. That's what you and I know. I've seen coronavirus has existed in a long time. That's science. I believe that because I've seen that. And the scientists have said that. That's why they give this one a new name, the novel coronavirus 19 of 2019. That's why it got his own name, bro. Because even though we've seen it before, this is a new strain. And so we need to separate what we know from what we think we know. That's all I'm saying, bro. That's all I'm saying. And again, this is why we're suffering. That's why America is suffering. Because people, we've been in this debate for a long time. I started my every live shows because I couldn't take it anymore. Because bro, because we've been talking about things we don't know instead of handling the one that we do know. Man-made. That's if we you know. Right, Jide Fashaki. Nobody talks about taking out Bin Laden under Obama. Nah, he didn't start it, but he finished it. Obama finished it. But now, no, Jide, I'm not even. I'll be honest with you, Jide. I know what I know about Barack Obama. I try not to make it a conversation about defending him, but what I will not allow is sometimes when people want to disparage him, they say things and they try to make Trump look better. And it's like, bro, no, in no world is Trump better. And that's not just me saying that. That's mad Republicans who voted for him. I'm very satisfied seeing Republicans on YouTube going out now talking about, nah, we're done. I'm upset that it took them this long. I'm upset that it took people dying for a lot of people to realize that this man is rubbish. We didn't have to lose 130,000 Americans. We did not. We did not have to lose this many Americans. We lost time at the beginning of this virus. We lost time. And part of that is because we're having conversations about who made it. The meantime, Corona was out here having a party, infecting everybody he could find. I said the same thing about I guess this is my perspective on some of these things. It's like, at the end of the day, let us prioritize human life. I think that's where I come at. I come at these things from that. That's my launch point. Let's think about human lives at the bottom of all of our conversations. If human life was priority in February and March, when this thing started ravaging the land, our approach to it would have been different. We would have found ways to lock it down. We would have been more concentrated on saving people. When it was taking 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, our conversation should have changed and should have been focused, all right, we got to stop this. Instead, what did we have? We had conversations about whether or not it was 5G. We had conversations about, oh, yeah, they're just making up numbers. Oh, all those people didn't die from Corona. They died from headaches. They just call it Corona. That's what we're still doing that now. That's what led to people saying, open up the states, just reopen, just reopen. And I have posts going back to March and April saying, if you rush to reopen, you will close quickly. It's math, it's science. Now Florida's governor is trying not to reopen. He's trying really hard, but these people are going to the hospital. So it doesn't matter if he closes anymore. People stop going out. People are already staying home on their own. It doesn't matter if the governor reopens, because county by county, it's spiking. And if the young kids are able to survive it, their grandparents are not. This is dumb. This ignorance is destroying America. The second pandemic is ignorance. It's ignorance, and that's why all this people are playing games. I answered that question. The Democratic Party, you look at the Democratic Party as the way you see them, because they end up being the ones running the most difficult cities. And so we can have fun and come out and say, oh, they're failing. Yeah, good job. Yeah, congrats to the leaders of some areas of this country where everybody's doing well. And oh, by the way, the other dirty secret that America's holding that we're not talking about when we want to yab Democrats and Democratic cities is that Kentucky, Indiana, all these other places that are run by Republicans, they have worse problems, but they're not publicized. You think only inner city places in New York collect food stamps? That's what you think? This is the fallacy. You know how you find out? Go find out about the budgetary allocations. Find out which cities and which counties are collecting the most money, the most aid, the most assistance. Oh, it will shock you. Republican governed areas. And so when you see Democratic cities failing and you see Democrats are running, they're starved of funding. And Cuomo made that clear during this coronavirus. He dared Kentucky to vote against the aid to New York because he told them, we know how much we pay into the federal coffers from New York, this city you guys like to hate. We supply so much money to the federal government. And when we ask for money back to help, we don't expect you to say a word. Because Kentucky, I know how much you take from the government coffers, and I know how much you put in. It's math. These narratives can be destroyed by math, numbers. I've said it before. If a Democrat is running, is leading or is governing a democratically, an area of the geography where Democratic Party is popular, or in the inner city or suburb, understand that he's doing that because that's most likely his constituency. That's his constituency because that's where he lives or she lives. And so, of course, you can have democratic leadership over urban areas in many ways. Those are the people that bother to come there. Those are the people that grow up there. They're part of that inner city. And the problems of those areas, they're bigger than the problems of some areas where they're doing okay, where they don't have systemic racism in the police force, where they were never redlined. You can have fun being like the congressman from an area where there's little to do, and then come in, and it's the representation in Congress that makes that possible. You have 2 senators from each of these states, no matter if your state is this tiny or if your state is this large. 2 senators, and you get to walk around like you're doing good work when all your constituency is like a couple of blocks, and you get to say rubbish about somebody whose constituency is running all kinds of thousands to 100,000s of people. That's what's happening. It's math. Switch it up. Let me tell you something. Why do you think that these cities you're talking about, at the end of the day, they produce more than the other places you're talking, the ones that are governed by Republicans? With all the crime and, oh, the city's dirty. Yes, there's too many of us here. You know one of the reasons? Because everywhere else we go, the racism is to level 10. We can't live in the other spots. We can't live in the other places, bro. And so, yeah, New York City is dirty. There's a lot of us here. We're all here because this is where we can at least live. Come on now. Come on now. Conservatives become president, we go into a recession. A Democrat takes over, we come out of a recession. Hey, it's been happening for last decade. You got your Clinton reviving the economy. You got your Bush destroying it. You got your Obama bringing us out of the ditch from 9% unemployment to 4.1. You got Trump celebrating us at 3.5. The guy who brought us from 9% to 4.1 did not have a party. The guy who brought us from 4.1 to 3.5, the greatest economy. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. This is math. JD, you're right. There's no perfect politician or party. They all have their issues. What's going on in America under Trump is a no-no. Separate it. Separate it. You know what I mean? Hey, my sister Febby. Yeah, look, President Clorox is doing a good job of taking care of himself. I always believe that the greatest force to bring Trump down, there's only one thing that can bring Trump down, that apart from God, and that's Trump himself. And I've always trusted him to bring himself down because he can't help himself. He destroyed his businesses because he can't help himself. His bankruptcies were a clue. His bankruptcies were a clue. He has bankrupted the country like clockwork. He's done it again. He's bankrupted the country. America is in bankruptcy. We're in receivership right now. We're in receivership. America's in bankruptcy. Our economy is shambles. Our healthcare facilities, healthcare is destroyed. Our image abroad is nothing. He's pulled out of everything that matters. He's allowed China to fill the space of America in WHO, United Nations, NATO, because he's turned his back on everything. So we don't even have that influence anymore. The country is going into bankruptcy. The trademark of Donald Trump, bankruptcy. And anyone who paid attention could see this. So there's no defending him. There's none. And the biggest evidence of that is the fact that even Republicans are online now, bro. It's not just me talking no more. I don't have to say much anymore. as they say, it is audible to the it is audible to the audibly impaired. It is visible to the visibly impaired, the visually impaired. You can't deny it, bro. When other countries around you are celebrating freedom from COVID and you're experiencing your fresh spike, that's math. I don't have to argue anymore. I don't. I can just sit back and watch every post I made in March, every prediction I made in April is coming to pass. I remember talking about Florida. I remember talking about Florida and Texas and Georgia. They were liberating and reopening, and they're mocking New York, like, we don't have a problem here, so we're just going to reopen. I remember saying that we're going to remember this moment. I remember saying that. I posted it. I'm going to find the post. I said New York is going to remember this moment because y'all don't understand that COVID is not a political party. COVID is not a political party. COVID doesn't care, bro. COVID doesn't speak English. The whole time New York was experiencing COVID, the other states should have been getting ready to fight it. They were fighting masks. They were attacking mayors that were trying to lock down. They were attacking governors that were trying to lock down. There you go, America. Here's your spike. And then President Clorox is going to be out here talking about 99% of COVID cases are harmless. How do you even defend a man who says something like that? No, explain this to me. How do you defend a man who said something like that? 99% of COVID cases are harmless. While emergency rooms in Florida and Texas are overflowing right now. They're sending people back. And let me tell you something about the problem with not taking COVID seriously. When COVID invades your hospital, it's not just a question of whether or not people are dying. We thank God the mortality rates are lower because doctors have learned more about how to treat it, because we have more remedies. That's science. Thank God for it. Thank God for the brains that he has given all these guys to work it out. Doctors lost a lot of people in the early part of COVID because they weren't sure how to handle it, and it was rushing into their ERs. So a lot of people were treated, even some of the treatments ended up being the problem. But it's hard to blame the doctors because they were just working with what they had. They were working with what they knew. The novel coronavirus was not a normal virus. Now they know better. Now they're saving more lives. But the emergency rooms are still crowded. Do you know what that means? Do you understand what that's going to lead to? That means that people who have other issues may not have room in the hospital to be treated. They're going to send people home with critical medical cases because there's no room to bring them in because the whole place is filled with COVID patients. And they're going to be worried about infecting you with your injury, to the injury that maybe become life-threatening maybe later, but they can't treat you right now. They're going to ask you to go home and you're going to try to self-medicate. These are the offshoots of how COVID devastates you beyond the people that actually get sick. And so the ignorance is what's killing us now. The ignorance is what's killing us. The kids are having COVID parties and they're putting money aside that the person that catches COVID first will get the money. That's the kind of ignorance we're dealing with. And I blame them, but at the same time, I can understand it. When the president of the United States gets up and says 99% of COVID cases are harmless. Oh, then why don't we all just pick one up? Why don't we all just share a case of COVID? It's harmless, 99% of it. Come on, man. The stupidity is not comparable. The reason I get agitated is I cannot sit for anyone to try to make Donald Trump any better than he is. I can't, because it's costing us, literally, it's costing us lives. This idea of treating Trump like, well, maybe he's better than, no, we're dying. Country is dying. We're celebrating 11% unemployment. And I'll say this, Donald Trump didn't cause COVID. Donald Trump is not responsible for COVID making its way to America. Donald Trump is, however, responsible as the president of this country who swore an oath to serve to protect the people of this country. He is responsible for how America reacts and how America reacted to COVID when it came. He failed that responsibility. Remember him bragging that he closed, the airports, he closed the travel from China? Remember that? Idiot. China was one source. Europe was another source. He kept bragging about closing China, did nothing about Europe. It turns out that the strain of corona that infected New York has been tracked down to travel from Europe. They did the study. It was a Europe strain that entered New York. So our big pandemic was from Europe. So your President Lysol was doing like this to China. Even that ban on Chinese travel was a limited ban. He allowed some people to come in. He allowed there were a lot of exceptions in his travel ban from China. He did that, but he left Europe open. So while his back was turned to Europe and he was blocking China, Europe was flooding and Corona was coming in on first-class flights from Europe. That's why we still had a spike, even though he closed China. But he talks about closing China, not understanding that if he actually had shut it down, we would not have what we had in New York. We would not be losing 130,000 people. You see the difference between a leader who listens to experts, who understands that this is not just about him. Donald Trump has always been worried about one thing: how COVID looks on him. From the beginning of this virus, Donald Trump's concern has been, I don't want it to look bad on me. I don't want to reflect badly on me. That's why he didn't want them to dock that ship off the coast of California. He didn't want the ship to come. He didn't want the passengers to come on land because they were carrying COVID. He didn't want their number. Look at how he thinks. His whole thing, don't let that ship dock. Don't let the people on the ship come on the land. Because in his head, he thought the COVID cases on that ship, if they enter the soil of America, that number will be added to the numbers of American cases. That's why he didn't want the ship to land. He was not concerned about healing the people, was not concerned about stopping the virus. He was worried that the numbers would look bad. The moron that he did not realize that the way to keep your numbers low and respectable is to solve the crisis, not to pretend that the numbers don't exist. It's the same thing he's saying about testing. Oh, we're having more cases because we're testing more. That is the dumbest thing you've ever heard. Second only to the statement that told us to inject Lysol and drink sun rays. That was the dumbest. Nothing will top that, I don't think. Trump is the candidate that can top that. I know he will say dumber, stupider things, but I don't even think Donald Trump can top that statement about Lysol. Forever, that would be on the top 10 greats of the dumbest things ever said by any president. Maybe by any public official in the world. I'm not sure. I'll figure that out. But one of the dumbest things ever said by any world leader has to be, maybe there's something we can do where we can inject that into the skin. Have you thought of that? Did you tell me you're going to work on that? Where we inject a disinfectant? It does, because it does great. Disinfectant does great. It kills it 100%. The disinfectant kills it. And you know the way it attaches itself to the lungs. That's where it does the most damage. Maybe there's something we can do. We can inject that into the body. Or, and the sun rays. That has to be the dumbest thing any world leader has ever said. Number one. I put it up against any statement of any world leader. Come on, let's do a contest. So Donald Trump has shown his ignorance. So we should not pretend to cover up for his stupidity. This thing is stupid. We should be celebrating coming out of COVID right now, like other nations. America should not be the one experiencing a spike when everybody else is celebrating. My boyfriend said he has no filter in his brain, uncle. Bro, it's amazing. Look, if he wasn't president, if it didn't affect our lives this much, it would be a great TV show to watch. I would tune in to a TV show, President Trump, but only if it was just fiction, where we would watch him literally pretend he was president, and we could see all these things, but only as a pretend show, and not have to deal with the real life consequences. Femi, thank you for bringing it up. Unfortunately, he's our current president. You are exactly right. We can't escape that, Ibukun, and we are suffering for it. I'm good. I wanted to before we round up, I wanted to bring up the issue of the new immigration rules or the visa immigration policy. This is, and it ties into what we're talking about. Just a point of note, Femi just dropped in. His friend in Brazil, Bolsonaro, is a close second to Idiot of the Week. Now, this is a man who also denied Corona and engaged in conspiracy theories. His country, Brazil, is seeing the worst outbreak right now. They're only second to America in many ways in terms of their suffering. And he's been covering up for so long. He joined Donald Trump to lambast the WHO. The WHO is rubbish. Fine. They don't know what to do. Fine. They made mistakes. Fine. They pampered China. Fine. What are you going to do about the corona in your country? Or what corona? Now the man has corona. I suspect he's going to be fine because, like I said, the world generally right now, we've gotten a better handle on how to treat it and avoid the fatal outcomes. Not in time for all those people that died. We lost time. Don't forget that. We lost lives. A lot of those lives were lost because we lost time. The time we spent arguing about whether or not corona was real. The time we spent listening to President Lysol tell us that only 5 people had it and it was going to go down to 0. The time we spent with President Lysol telling all us to go and buy chloroquine and drink it before he told us to drink Lysol. All that time was lost. The time we spent with people rioting against their governors and mayors saying, open us up. Open us up. We don't want masks. We're not going to wear masks. Masks are for the weak people. We lost time. So we never forget. So Bolsonaro will probably be fine because he'll have the best doctors and best treatment. But the people who are not Bolsonaro in Brazil who are dead right now, they can't come back. They can't come back. And so we need to really think about these things. You know, and for me, you know, that's the problem. This man has corona now. All the people that listen to Bolsonaro and believed him when he said it wasn't a big deal, where are they going to run to? He's got corona now. So is this still a hoax? Is he part of the hoax? Because he's got it, and he came out and said he was positive for it. People are testing positive everywhere because corona doesn't care if you're the president or just the guy down the street. COVID is not political. I've said it from day one. COVID is not political. COVID doesn't care. I congratulate Africa once again. Nigeria, I congratulate you on your immunity. I have come to believe now. Let me put a disclaimer on this. The statement I'm making is purely anecdotal. It's just my opinion. It's what I feel. It's what I think. It's what I think is my explanation. It's a theory. It's not confirmed. I have no studies to back it up. So I'm saying this. I'm separating this. Like I said before, it's better to separate your opinion from fact. But I believe I'm of the opinion that because of just from personal experience, as a Nigerian born and raised, our collective exposure to a certain group of diseases, malaria, cholera, typhoid, I think our bodies have fought some of these diseases for so long that to the extent that corona has similar symptoms, it's not the same disease, but to the extent that corona has some similarity to malaria, some similarity to some of the stuff we fought before, I believe that our bodies do have some natural antibodies. And that's why I suspect that even though the infection rate in Nigeria is rising, I'm grateful that the mortality rate is still very minimal. I hope it stays that way. I pray it stays that way. And that's why it makes sense for us to try to mitigate and reduce the spread. Let's not test fate. Let's not test our immunity. Don't test your grandfather's immunity with corona in Nigeria just because you're coming out of it okay. A lot of our people got sick and they're doing well. The recovery rate in Nigeria is very encouraging, and I'm glad about that. And that's why I suspect part of that is because as somebody who grew up battling malaria fever, looking at what people are describing with COVID, it sounds a lot like what I dealt with, the chills, the fever, the headache, the weakness. So I'm thinking my body has fought malaria over and over again. So I know I have antibodies for malaria. I know that. The antibodies for malaria are in my system. In fact, they talk to me. Every Tuesday, I talk to the antibodies for malaria, right? Because I had malaria for every day of the week. So I won't be shocked if those antibodies are also available to like fight COVID. I mean, there might be a study later to help me confirm this. And my medical personnel, if you're here, if you heard anything like that, that's just my theory, my opinion. I believe that we have antibodies because the infection rates and the mortality rates are so disparate. We don't have so many people dying. Except for the ones that are covering up people who died from it and telling us it was just headaches. I'm going to leave them aside. But even with that, with all that counted, our mortality rate, death rate is low, which I'm grateful for, and I hope it continues. There are reports that people in Nigeria are having loss of taste, loss of, they can't smell. So I know there's symptoms. People are getting 1 or 2 hints of this COVID, but I suspect that we're coming out of it partly because our bodies have been fighting some really bad guys of diseases. So I guess Corona gets into Nigeria and he realizes that he's not the first guy to come and try to ravage that country. And therefore Corona is chilling. You can't take too many people, because when Corona enters a Nigerian body, Corona says, "Yay, Mugbe, what's all this? Hey, yeah, you guys have been fighting a lot." That's how COVID is reacting inside the Nigerian body. Yo, no, Femi, I believe it. Nigerians have multiple cases. I know that. And bro, we don't have a system of reporting for anything. So forget. I know. That's why I say people are saying they can't smell, they can't taste, but they don't want to say it's COVID. People are seeing symptoms, but they're calling it all kinds of different things just to avoid COVID. Plus, Femi, you understand, even Nigeria, the stigma for COVID, the stigma for COVID is such that if you say you have COVID in Nigeria, if you get tested, your neighbors will run from you, they will flee from you. So people who are coughing will go to a corner and cough. I understand it. To my Nigerian people, I get you. Me and run. God forbid, COVID. So I understand my Nigerian people. You don't want nobody finding out nothing's going on. So it's clearly underreported, bro. Underreported. But I'm saying that even with that said, because it will be hard to hide COVID in Nigeria if it was killing people at the rate, for instance, that it ravaged New York City. You won't be able to hide it. The New York City death rate when COVID came in was not hideable. The emergency rooms were filling up. People were passing from emergency room to the grave. You can't hide it. They had makeshift morgues. They brought trucks in that we could see. You know, you could see the trucks that they brought in to put the bodies for the freezers when it was really bad in New York. You can't hide that stuff. And family members whose family members were lost, you know, they were crying everywhere. Ambulances were racing around New York City trying to save lives. You can't hide it when it's really bad. So I feel like Nigeria, even though I know they're underreporting the numbers, I know there are more cases than they're reporting. I'll be honest with you, I just want people to be safe and try to, and don't take it for granted. Let us reduce the level of conspiracy theories and let's face the fact and deal with this. It's unfortunate that Nigeria, you have the leadership you have right now. It's sad, but this is life, you know. I gave up on the election last year because I just felt like maybe I thought maybe I was re-educated. I felt maybe Nigerians are okay with what they have, and I should stop, you know, making noise. I'm blowing grammar from abroad as if I know what's going on. So I'm humble when it comes to Nigeria's issues and politicians. But I will say you have the wrong leadership for a time as this. Thank God for your immunity, Nigeria. Be grateful for your God-given malaria-afforded immunity. I'm telling you, that's my suspicion. Because we don't have the facilities, we don't have the system in place to handle what would have been a ravaging effect of something like COVID. We never had that. We don't even have lights, which is my favorite issue. You know? So you can't run all your ventilators on the generators if you have them. So I'm grateful that Nigerians are more immune than a lot of other people for Nigeria's sake. So, but I don't think that means we should be reckless. And then I don't think we should be pretending. Nigerians are pretending that COVID is not a big deal. Look, it's a complicated problem. The Nigerian government that wants you to stay home, but has no plans for you when you stay home, is asking for the impossible. So I'm going to sit here and admit that I don't know what the solution is. Because I don't have the nerve to tell Nigerians to stay home when I know there's nothing to eat when they stay home. It's just a problem. I have to admit, I can't solve that problem. But I do pray that people are careful when they go out. I pray that people don't just go, they're lying, there's no corona, they are faking the numbers. That's the one that hurts me. That's the rubbish we are doing here. Florida, Texas, they're all spiking when other countries are celebrating. That's what happens. So, I mean, on that, I just want to say, let's be smart. My legal moment for today is, again, referring to, you know, the issue we talked about with the new visa restrictions. To all my people out there, if you are here on a student visa, it's a critical time for you. I would advise you to immediately go check the expiration date of your F1 visa. That's going to begin to give you a sense of what you need to do right now. Now, unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, you are able to, you can't travel right now. I'm hoping that at this point you've already gotten an extension on your student visa. The only question is when your extension ends, you are not likely to get a renewal if this new policy goes into effect. And this is what I was talking about earlier. This is cruelty. You know, I'm talking like I mean, as an attorney, I can say this now. As an attorney, I can say this. I know that, you know, on the face of it, as an immigration policy, you know, the given information is that, look, since coronavirus is changing the nature of education in America, universities are switching to online programs. And the rationale is if your school is doing an online schedule, then the basis for which you got your visa, which is to come abroad, come to the US to study in that school because you were admitted to that school, was with the understanding that you would have to physically be here for you to attend the school. That's why the visa was issued. So the rationale behind it is that now that the physical presence in the school is changing, where some schools are going to full online courses, if your school is the kind of school that's going fully online, what the immigration office is saying is that you don't have to be here physically to attend anymore because you're going to be attending school virtually. Therefore, their argument is that you should be able to do that from your home country. Therefore, they are ready to not renew your student visa anymore. And as soon as your current student visa expires, you are in danger of being processed for deportation. That's what the new rule is establishing right now. And they have different categories. There are some schools that are doing partial online schooling. If your school is doing partial online schooling, then there's a certain number of credits that you are required to be taken online, and certain credits you have to retake. You're going to be taking physically walking into a campus that will allow you to retain your F1 visa status. But if you happen to be going to a school where they're going fully online, or if the majority of your course, the course you're taking, is going to be a virtual course, then you are the one that is in danger from this new policy. So that's where the policy stands right now. It was just issued. I expect they're going to be, if they have not already started, there are going to be challenges to that policy, the ACLU and others. There are going to be injunctions by courts as to whether or not they can begin to implement the policy or whether or not the policy will be suspended. So those are things that we have to, because it just happened this week. Those are things we have to wait to see. But my advice is right now, check your F1 status visa. If you're a student, you're here on a student visa, check your status right now. Get a sense of how long it will take. Get a sense of how long it will take for you to, you know, get just the renewal is going to be your problem. You may not be able to renew anymore right now. So my hope for you is that you've gotten a recent renewal that covers you probably at least till the end of the year, till next year. Because when schools resume in August, in the fall, that question is going to be relevant for you. If you're a student visa holder, you need to find out when your expiration is. That's going to be critical, because when that expires, there's a good chance that you will fall in the category of being here illegally. That's unfortunately what they have done with the new policy. Now, what that also requires is that you need to contact your institution of education immediately. You need to call your school right now, find out what their plans are for the fall. If your school is going to be going full online in the fall, you need to know. You need to find out if there are any credits, if the school is going to be open at all for anyone. You need to find out whether or not you're eligible to come to campus. You need to really find out, because that's going to decide whether or not you fall into the category of those who have to leave the country when your F1 visa, the current visa, expires. It's a very horrible position to be put in, and that I can tell you that as an attorney, just as a human being, as a person, as an advocate for immigrant rights, I am appalled by this policy. I am offended. I am upset. It is the height of. Thank you, Damilola. Very good point. It is the height of cruelty. This particular policy is one of the clues and evidences I have that this administration is just cruel. It's just wicked. This is wickedness. This is wickedness. You know. Thank you. Thank you. My big uncle Femi Bello says letters are being sent to affected students even now. There you go. So this affects you. You're getting a letter. Read your letter carefully. Check your own immigration status. Call your school. Call your counselors. Find out, you know, specifically as it pertains to you, what it means for you. Like I said, there will be lawsuits, there might be injunctions holding it, or maybe an injunction might be removed, because the way it happens, people sue, courts can give injunctions, the government appeals, that appeal can lead to the lifting of the injunction. If it's one of those cases that maybe that's going to go to the Supreme Court, like the other immigration cases, then you have to wait to find out what the Supreme Court says eventually. But before then, you are in danger, because if a court allows the government to proceed, based on if the most recent ruling, so picture it, people are suing the government for this right now. There will be decisions made in lower courts. Some of those decisions might favor the immigrant community. Some of them might not. If you have a leading injunction that says the government cannot implement this right now, that injunction, is you can see that as keeping you safe for a while, but it's only temporary, because the government is likely to appeal that. And while they're appealing, they're going to ask for that injunction to be lifted. So if they get that, then that means in the period before it is finally decided, maybe at the Supreme Court level, Court of Appeals level, in that time, if your visa expires and you have not been renewed, and your school is an online school and you're one of the affected students, you are in danger. You're in danger. The only hope is that they may not prioritize the deportation of that category of people, but you end up on the list of deportable people in America. Again, that's me as an attorney. As a person, I am offended and I'm upset, because this is wickedness. Because what they're saying is this: even though you did not cause corona, even though COVID is not your fault, even though you relied on your admission and you signed forms, letting them know that you'll be coming here to school, you're paying your tuition, you followed all the guidelines, you have a valid visa. All of a sudden, your valid visa, because of the delays caused by corona and the changes to the educational system that are not your fault, that are not even foreseeable when you were signing up, because of that, now you are being told that your visa is likely to become invalid. And that's evil. Adam Lola asked a good question. He said, will this change affect the fees or guarantee any discounts because you've paid money? Unfortunately, what I suspect is that because the initial visa you got was given, so the argument would be that the money you paid covered the visa you got, and tuition you paid covered the time you spent in school. So that is done. What we're talking about now is whether or not you get a renewal. So the challenge now becomes, is a renewal something that was implied when you applied initially, or is it a problem for you to now find out and say, well, you didn't tell me there might be this possibility. Let me get to some of these questions before I round up. My people, thank you so much for being here today. So Ibukun says, will they change some students will change their course to classroom one? I suspect that's possible and true. Maybe that's an option, but I don't know how easy it is to switch your major, switch your courses. And that also assumes that your school even has a physical attendance course that you can switch to. Most schools that will be switching to online courses might be doing so because maybe they have a spike in that area, in which case they might not want anyone to come to campus. So it'd be hard, but you need to, that's why I said call your school, find out what they're doing. Unfortunately, for a lot of cases with visa applications based on student visas, it's always tied to your application and admission to a particular school. So it's always difficult if you transfer into another school that's going to be physical. That's a possibility. Again, look into that. If you can transfer your course to a school where you can walk in, then that's fine. So I wanted to put that out as a legal moment before I finish. Jide, you're right. It's extremely cruel. We don't know what they're going to do with practicals. If you have online practicals, again, I suspect that because I think the policy has a basis in wickedness and cruelty, I think they'll be doing everything in their power to just make sure that people become deportable. So, and this is different from DACA. I want people to understand, this is not DACA. DACA, with the deferred action case with DACA, it deals with children, young people who were brought over to this country, quote unquote, by their parents, undocumented, who have now become part of the system for a certain age and have been here for some years. Those were the ones that were swept up by Barack Obama's executive order for DACA. So those are not student visas. Student visas are people who applied for the visas from their home country based on admission into school, got the visa validly stamped, came over here and started schooling or were about to start schooling. So those are different categories. Those are non-immigrant visas that were validly given. The DACA case is a different case. They would be considered undocumented immigrants, but because it was not their fault that they came in undocumented, DACA was designed to protect them and separate them sometimes from the category of their parents, who were the ones who actually made the trip to come in illegally. So it's two different conversations. But this one is it hurts. It hurts because if you're a student visa holder right now, you're in limbo. You're in limbo, and I say it's one more reason why this period in America is one of the saddest periods in America, in the history of America. It's awful. It's horrible. And I hope America wakes up and makes the change it needs to make. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy JFK. Shout out to everybody who's been on here, man. Jide Fashaki, Brafemi Bello. Oh, I love to see you, bro. BCOY, IBK, thank you for a spirited debate. I love you, bro. Damilola is here, Femi is here, man. Nigeria people falling in heavy. I appreciate you guys. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think we can do on this show differently. I take suggestions for topics and issues to discuss. It will help me to know what people are thinking. Once again, I'm working towards getting a big show for YouTube. Hopefully, you guys give me tips on how I can do that too. In the meantime, man, y'all stay safe. Y'all be easy and have some jollof rice on my behalf. Let me know how it tastes. It's your boy. So I'm gonna catch you up later. Our next show is a Saturday. I'm working on the Saturday schedule. Let me know if it's a good time for you. If not, we're still working it out. Peace out, man. Peace and love. I'm gonna catch you all up later. Thank you so much. God bless. Your boy,